Total Amazement City.
You've reached the offices of Andrew Luke and a special edition devoted to Press Gang 302, Killer on the Line. With Series 3, the Junior Gazette's price has risen from 20p to 30p, but my Patreon deal remains the same. £1 per month for all access. Weekly, that's cheaper than what Colin and Linda are offering. At the least, you could like this video now, because it's going to be a belter. 302 is directed by Lord McGorry. The actor Jake Wood memorably plays Jack. He previously popped up in The Rest of My Life as Boy at Party. This doesn't mean they're not the same character. The theory holds that concussion at Cresswell can lead to violent robbery. Susie Beavis is the chief makeup artist on this episode and does a really good job with it. Real Beavis butthead. Maybe I should get my coat. The script for this episode comes bundled with the Press Gang DVD. It's dated 11th of January 1991 with handwritten notes for cuts made 5th of February. In the setup, the first 2 pages of writing on the 2 locations are an incredibly rich, textured piece, almost like prose, and it sets out directly thematic visual language corresponding between Sarah and Jack, both of whom begin the episode laying on a floor. The script is very hands-on in direction for Kelda and Jake. Their pauses, what their characters should be thinking. This is a little unusual but fair given the nature of the story as a mind game. These 16 seconds from the beginning demonstrate well how attention to detail counts.
Hello, I'm fine.
What?
David?
In the quest for his missing passport, Spike demonstrates a level of violence that, in Series 2, was off-screen, redecorating the sixth form common room with Barry Crowther's face. And in Series 1, A Night In, which was as shocking as it is here. It's not nice to see our heroes as shits. In including these scenes, Moffat lets play a subdued version of the greater violence of Jack gone before, Future as prologue. Fraz serves less as Spike's wingman, more as chorus. They're not as close as they were. Spike didn't tell Fraz he'd returned to Norbridge. It's a different relationship which I think lets Super Slacker step out from under the former's shadow. Mmolki gives him more confidence with a knowingness, part of a running suggestion he's much more intelligent than seems, and hides that selectively for his own survival. Fraz suggests Spike look in the filing cabinet, suggesting to us he knows where the passport is. That's entirely dependent on the viewer's own perspective of Fraz's morality. Mmolki gets some great lines here. Moffat initially intended Spike's fury, somewhat understandable, to be in even more focus this episode. Jim Sangster, editor of the Press Gang Programme Guide, explains.
There are some scenes cut from this episode as well. And I'm kind of glad that they were cut, because I think viewing them now, it would show Spike in a really uncomfortable light. There was a scene where he told Fraz that he'd gone round to Linda's house to confront her about stealing the passport. And he's shouting through her letterbox and banging on the door, and in frustration he trashes her front garden, throws rubbish all over it, pushes some of the rubbish through the letterbox. And then he realises that she's inside and she's gone up the stairs to avoid him. So he shins up a drain pipe and starts banging on the on her bedroom window. And he's just going, I was an animal. And Fraz says, want to know something? How about Linda's new address?
We might take something from how the smeared makeup on Kelda's face mirrors that of the people in the newsagents. The blood on Lorenzo's head, and intentionally the damage around Jake Wood's eye. Coming back to Fraz, he is ridiculously underutilized throughout the show. My supplementary headcanon is he's a stoner.
Hey, Fraz, you ever gonna get that thing?
Might not be for me.
Yo, how will you know if you don't answer it?
It's difficult, isn't it? I just give up as soon as it rings.
It's a Kenny light episode. Here long enough for exposition on problems over the south side and for Spike to flag up he'll bring over his suitcases. Kenny's in a new bedroom. Linda last episode was also in a new place. There are continuity props on the walls. Sarah's hair, Spike's growling, threatening masculinity, all remind us these characters are adults now. Have Kenny and Linda got their own apartments? Their own let rooms? Spike coaches Sarah on standing up for herself, something we've seen previously. Sarah is regularly shown to be, in as regards sexual relationships, particularly mousy, particularly submissive, and it's something Spike is aware of. And we know from his kissing her towards the end of Series 2 that he's got quite a soft spot for Sarah. Certainly recognises he's more experienced and she needs his help. Good reciprocative relationship. Kelda Holmes' new punky hairstyle operates as a sort of chrysalis-like look to a more mature woman, a bolder woman, finding her way. It pains me to say it, but Dexter Fletcher as Spike is inconsistent in his deliveries. Poor performances because of two main vocal pressures, impediments, the unfortunate accent, and Moffat's fast script. It was only on using a transcriber where I was able to appreciate this spiel.
You tell him like it is. Get that sucker sweating guilt.
Right, I will.
Go for it. Straight for the throat. No mercy. Go for it, killer.
Kelda, by contrast, gives a free, clean delivery. In hindsight, we can hear in Sarah's voice the cogs turning in her head, galvanizing her actions. That shift in tone shows a change in a Sarah fixated on hopes for a boy who has tired her and disappointed her, to Sarah that's in pursuit of the story, whose detective antenna has been activated, whose curiosity is on the trail. So this one takes place hours after the last episode. Something about Linda with Colin in tow is a harbinger of where we're going to go. Sexual double entendres and a discussion about the type of news that fit the print.
Kerr's pulled the Coles and Folkestone story. Legal stuff, apparently.
Well now, perhaps that's to do with stolen paperwork, cassette tapes, breaking and entering and fraudulent identity. Although they succeeded in exposing citywide corruption, there has still been a setback in the story, which Linda uses to give information to us. Don't break the law, kids at home. And to Spike, manipulatively telling him his passport is right in front of us. One knockback by Spike at looking at the rainy day file was all it took for Linda to hold on to it and to hold it close. Insecure in having flaunted Spike's exit so brazenly, she doubles back, wants to keep the passport close and keep him close. The dialogue is a light counterpart for the heavier mystery drama in Sarah's questions about a chemical spray and assault. Sarah's reverse Columbo moment sets the money man's eyes kerchinging. Similarly, Fraz is closer. This story has caught his attention, as many other things in life don't. The phrase, "Where's Rod?" acts as a chilling mantra, an ever-present character off-screen who wields considerable power. With Sarah laying out their confession, Moffat acknowledges a contrivance in his story. He gets around it with the illusion deconstructed in the first act, allowing it to be reassembled and the premise rebirthed. This is further strengthened by Jack's refusal to believe Sarah's acknowledgement of her own weakness. Sarah's vulnerability also comes from the subplot about her crappy boyfriend, and in Jack's case, stubbornness, investment in deference to the esteem in which he holds Rod. Let's spend 4 minutes on Jake Wood, who makes the most of his limited screen time as Jack. As you can see on screen, Sam Black from our graphics department has whipped up this piece for the feature focus, and she... What? What? Well, tell her to do it. Well, find the name of the salon, call them, and next time she shows up for nail extensions, they can jab pencils in the end of her fingers. Jake as Jack expresses desperation, savageness, and neediness. Killer on the Line is a formative role in his casting as a vulnerable thug. One only need refer to EastEnders, where Wood has clocked in more episodes than any other actor on the show to date. As Max Branning, he's a soap's prolific womanizer and abuser with a damaged psyche. Also elsewhere, scrolling his credits, he portrayed a yob in One Foot in the Grave and Holding On, a ruffian in drama series Vera Drake, Nazi chauffeur in the movie Uncle Adolf, named as Kill Crazy in Red Dwarf. In Sean Hughes' 1992 fun meta sitcom, Sean's Show, paying off a series-long joke running of unseen burglars breaking into Sean's flat to leave things. Jake, as burglar, appeared in the Series 1 finale to ask for his stuff back. Wood's career at its roots links to press gang in a number of ways. Starting as a child actor aged 12, he'd pop up on TV while undertaking theatrical training. This came through the Anna Sher Drama School in Islington, North London. Sher's influence on British working-class actors is profound and perhaps inestimable. Vital early years impressions made on profile careers of the future, a high level of devotion. Jake Wood led a 2018 Guardian retrospective. She was just this whirlwind of energy. I was like, what the hell is that? I'd never met anybody with that drive. And it changed my life. I don't know what I would be doing if it weren't for Anna Sher. Sher's school, a charitable setup, was a point of security for casting director Liz England. A number of Press Gang alumni studied there at the same time as Wood. Dexter Fletcher, Kelda Holmes, Mmolki Chrystie, Charlie Creed Miles, Lee McDonald, and Natasha Knight. Jake Wood also appeared with Simon Schatzberger, Brian Magboy, in the iconic Yellow Pages advert Party Party. Before settling down with EastEnders in 2006, there were many roles in staple Brit TV fare. Morse, A Touch of Frost, Thin Blue Line, Casualty, and The Bill. He'd pop up in a 1999 episode of Murder Most Horrid, written by Steven Moffat. Elvis, Jesus, and Zach also featured performances by Paul Reynolds, Nick Stringer, and reuniting with Sean Hughes. The editor of that episode was Press Gang's regular editor, Jeff Hogg. This time around, it's Michael John Bateman cutting the tape, as he did for Friends Like These and last series' two-part finale. He'll make the hard calls for Chances a Fine Thing, Panto Slapstick, Holding On, and the next series, a tonal sibling to this episode, She's Got It Taped. Also Colin Matthews Caper in the picture. If IMDb is to be believed, he was assistant editor on The Pink Panther Strikes Again, Jabberwocky, and other films. His work in sound editing was employed in Predator, Spaceballs, and Critters 2. The collaborative nature of Press Gang meant Bateman went on to work with Bob Spears on 2 episodes of Murder Most Horrid and with Jeff Hogg on Roy Chubby Brown's UFO. In Killer on the Line, Bateman's cutting between Jack and a newsroom hits all the right beats for the right length of time. Sometimes these cuts are brief 10 seconds to keep in focus ever-present high stakes as we naturally gravitate towards the newsroom comedy. Speaking of such, Paul Reynolds is 100% made of cartoon stuff. He is just an incredible physical showman.
I trusted you like family. I've always looked up to you like one of my own mothers.
Shut up.
Reading much, as I want to do, into his use of the plural, mothers, it's like his inner word processor crafting sales talk, his glitches, grammar that goes unchecked, conjures silly ideas of Steven Moffat choosing to write Colin in first draft only on occasion, because that was funnier, because that exposed the shallow basicness of the character. There is a well-known writing award, or there was, named after Edward Bulwer Lytton, and a rambling beginning of one of his novels. The prize was awarded for the best hack-like story, melodramatic purple prose, bad writing, of the type that is a dark and stormy night. This is a style Moffat often writes Colin in, and frankly, it's a treat.
Colin, go away.
Spike is a bigger asshole than Colin, really. With the police having shown no interest in the story, Spike's frustration accelerates, performing Jack's aggression for us. Conversely, after Linda got told, with Spike, that she could be in some serious trouble last episode as regards facing criminal convictions, she is doing the same here to Spike. The consequences affect more than the two of them, but the paper's whole ecosystem. There's a lull as Linda asks about Spike and Zoe's engagement party. He dodges a question. News of the engagement has inflamed Linda, and we find out Spike lied about that with this very intent.
Boyfriend she thought had left her. I mean, it was disgusting.
Jack calls again. It's a murder mystery thriller, and Colin's got the film rights. Bestseller Kelda, with a barrage of vocal aggression, a moment for Spike to notice and pause. Jack's return call doesn't have for the news crew desired effect. It's brief, gives us a detail that Jack was being initiated into a gang, a news narrative which appears often today as it did in 91 and is harrowing, accurately shown in the fates of Lorenzo and Jack himself. The call, less than 40 seconds in screen time, is in fact a gracefully subtle setup. There's a general feeling Sarah overplayed her hand. She agrees she's deemed a failure in one of her key skill areas, and she's vulnerable.
Fine. I don't know if I want to hear any more from a pointless little worm like you, okay?
Sarah?
Who's this?
It's David Banks.
And just like that, the Junior Gazette takes out another David. Not before Sarah apologises, and I love how Spike's frustration with this works as both audience and plot mechanics, giving a cue to Sarah. Another reprise of How to Make a Killing Part 2.
Actually, I'm not sorry at all. We had a date tonight, you didn't turn up, so you blew it. Tough.
Sarah's frustration vents around a tug-of-war with Jack and lets her focus on him. Jim Sangster likes it.
Killer on the Line is one of those annual Sarah stories where Sarah solves the mystery. It's unusual because it follows on from the previous episode. It's set a few hours after the previous episode ended. I've got to say, and I might have said this in the previous video, Sarah has always been one of my favourite characters in the show. I just love how naturalistic she is. It's at odds with a lot of the acting, and I think that sometimes she might be underestimated. But I love what Kelda Holmes does with Sarah, and I love how she really drives the plot in this story. Obviously you've got the overall story arc of Linda and Spike, but it's Sarah who works out that there's something going on, and then she makes all the connections and then finally solves it at the very, very end, just in time. It's also nice to see a very young Jake Wood. Years before he joined EastEnders as Max Branning, he's here playing the killer on the line, or one of the killers on the line, because of course the other killer is Sarah in the way she devastates that prospective boyfriend in the way he's treated her. And it is a sort of punch the air moment. Yeah, Sarah, she's great.
I don't think there's anything more to say about that, do you?
Hey, Sarah?
No second chances, David. It's a pity, really. I quite liked you. We might even have lasted the week.
And it is a moment. Go Sarah. Spike's sincere pride, Fraz's glow. Only Linda seems unimpressed. Perhaps because she's been on the end of a Sarah rage dump before. The moment elevates Colin's dialogue, which might be seen as a low-hanging punchline.
You mean you were dating the guy that broke into the shop?
To where it's intended to be secured as alternate universe Colin neurology.
He doesn't really understand anything you can't express as money.
And Linda's line, I think he likes talking to you, expresses admiration for Sarah's people skills, which she's recognised before. Jack begging Lorenzo not to die, an emotional pull apart from how he reacts seconds later on learning he's been talking to the junior paper. First, delirious laughter, like Walter White in his basement, born of craziness and his own concussion. And then outright gloating, reframing the calls as a hoax. It's another short scene, 55 seconds, packing in a lot of unstable character. And unknown to Jack, there's a police officer present, compounding the sense of embarrassment, something he would have enjoyed reading his intentions. It's a mystery whether Spike has a place to bunk tonight. The story of the story would seem to end there. Jack returning to the shop on hearing the phone ringing seems a bit contrived. While it suits the authorial performance of surprise, it might have been more convincing if the blue lights of the police outside drove Jack back into the shop. That would have given us suspense and surprise, where his only way out is a ringing telephone. But then, the writer was only 30 years old. It works okay if we keep in mind Jack is suspecting the caller might be Rod. Rod's calls are powered on redial 1471 in Britain, *69 in America. However, there was an alternative where you could dial a small prefix and it would, instead of putting through the last number that dialed you, it would give you the phone number of who was the last person to dial you, which they could have then taken down and searched for correlation on, I don't know, Ask Jeeves, or just distributors' records to point to Lorenzo's shop. But in 1991, it wasn't just different knowledge attainment, but perception in knowledge attainment. For us in 2026, it's second nature that dots can be so closely connected, far less distance in thinking of how to achieve connection. 30-year-old Moffat pulls off a satisfying detective drama with that genre's pivotal reveal. It's enough to wake Spike up. There's Press Gang's recurring theme of trying to save villains. They fail, of course, with Lorenzo, who facilitates the Junior Gazette, but they'd rather he didn't. Jack's characterization is consistent in its psychological inconsistency. Emotionally distraught, Jack swears he didn't mean to kill Lorenzo, and it's an emotional connection. Kelda Holmes' one-word delivery is tone perfect.
Sarah.
Jack.
And that will resonate when we get to the last word and the interplay between Linda and the gunman. More somber theme going out than we're used to. Strong piano work engineered by Matthew Fatty. As regulars know, I scrutinise how a telephone is used to establish plot. Killer on the Line does this far less unexpected, and each one counts. A non-call establishes Jack's limited mobility. His first call builds a tense audio environment. Penny calls through with the Lorenzo exposition. Jack and Sarah make contact. Third call, they properly talk, and Sarah is tipped off something is afoot. Where is Rod? What happened there? And Sarah owns up. Jack doesn't believe them. Linda calls the police. Don't muck around with Sarah. Jack comes crawling back. Don't muck around with Sarah, reprised. Jack gets wise to Sarah's game. Sarah calls Jack wise to his game. and this brings our total to 12, an average of a call every 2 minutes, compared with the Big Hello's 18 calls. And while we're here, let's appreciate this beautiful tracking shot. As Jim mentioned earlier, there's a number of cuts to this episode. These include Spike chatting up a stewardess to let him on the plane, how David Banks is known to Spike, taught him everything he knows actually, and they share 4 exes. There's a few pages of how Spike and Sarah have gone over together personal boundaries and expectations on dating. The editor's notes on Moffat's script pares the minute-long dialogue down to Spike referring to the basic lessons we covered last year, part alluding to how to make a killing. There were also some pieces on Fraz's reaction time and general challenges to his neurology. A few lines demonstrating Colin Matthews' loose grasp of how journalism is supposed to work. Some of the cuts are solid exercising in fat trimming, needless exposition about the situation and Jack's motives. Also waffle of little interests such as subpar Spike Linda sparring. What isn't cut is interesting too, most notably the Sarah Jack dialogue, which has only a few lines subtracted from it. Thanks to Jim Sangster. Jim co-hosts a podcast, Doctor Who Literature, and has just completed an animated adaptation of the opening chapter from Target's Day of the Daleks novelisation. You can find links to Terror in the 22nd Century and other works in the description. If you've enjoyed this essay, please scroll down to under where you liked the video and leave a comment. That helps teach the KD algorithm and get the story to the front of the YouTube rack. Thanks to all of my patrons whose names are on screen now and who received this and other works early, as well as many bonuses. Next time, Chance is a Fine Thing, where Kenny goes under the floorboards looking for fate, and Colin models a nifty bow tie. Bow ties are cool.